everyone gets to celebrate National Ag Day, whether it's trying a new product or talking to a farmer or making a contribution back to your environment. I hope everyone has a fabulous day.
Wonderful. And a fabulous day to you as well, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kayla.
Just the idea of growing the perfect garlic bulb is what excites me, but what a lot of people don't realise is there's about 340 odd garlic varieties on the planet. We're commercialising about 7 garlic varieties here in Australia and still experimenting with several others. In Australia, we just treat garlic as garlic, whereas overseas they will have actually garlic for specific dishes and purposes. My name's Nick Diamantopoulos. I'm the CEO of Australian Garlic Producers. So I produce fresh garlic bulbs. We grow in several locations. We supply the major supermarkets, and now we've also ventured into producing super garlic, a range of dietary supplements with 100% Australian garlic oil that provides targeted support for general health and well-being. There's so many benefits in this humble little plant, and I really feel that we've captured them all in this wonderful little soft gel supplement. It's Australian made and Australian grown, and there's no other garlic supplement on the shelf today anywhere in the world, let alone in Australia, with full traceability back to the field, the variety, the location. If you're developing a medicinal product, I think it's important for the consumers to know that what they're ingesting is safe, it's got full traceability, and it's grown in a clean, green environment that's absolutely safe to take. So in our garlic collection, we've got about 292 different garlic varieties. And what we've tried to do, we've actually tried to pick the best garlic varieties specifically for each of these garlic supplement products. In the Super Garlic product range, we've created 4 products, starting with general health and well-being. We've also got congestion relief, immune support, and finally we've also created the cardio and heart health.
Well, I use Nick's garlic every day in almost all of my cooking. I love using this garlic because I know that it comes from here, from our environment, from the water of the Murray River. It's clean, it's green. It is almost as if Nick's passion oozes out of the garlic itself. It is very important for consumers to engage and support Australian-made products. You get something directly from producers, and it creates jobs, and it creates communities.
So Australians are very innovative, and we've been farming now for many, many years. We need new industries to help our growers diversify, and by Australians buying more Australian products, it means that growers can actually diversify and grow more, which means we create a lot more jobs in the communities. We support our kids, we support the economy. If I had to describe the Super Garlic range in one word, it would be trust. Everything we do around this product is all about authenticity and traceability to create a product that's 100% Australian made and Australian grown.
To celebrate National Agri Day, we shine light on our everyday agri heroes and say thank you. Happy National Agri Day from everyone at Rabobank.
Happy National Ag Day.
From the Henty Field Days in New South Wales.
Manjimup, Western Australia.
Moree, New South Wales.
Esperance, WA.
Weewar, New South Wales.
Fleurieu Peninsula, South Australia.
Dalby, Queensland.
Princetown, Victoria.
From Elizabethtown, Tassie.
Roma, Queensland.
Coogee Beach, New South Wales.
Eula, Victoria. Rockhampton, Queensland.
Happy Ag Day from the Liverpool Plains.
Opportunity, community, and plenty of fun in the meantime. Come and help us feed and clothe the world. Happy National Ag Day!
We farm about 5,000 acres here and we milk about 1,200 milking cows. We want young people involved in the industry, and the only way we're going to get the young people coming through is programs like this.
We had 2 applicants, both great applicants. Obviously we chose Julian. He was pretty green when he first started, didn't know much about driving some of the machinery, but he's a very knowledgeable person, very smart, and once he picked that up, it was just simple as.
Big thing that's missing in the rural sector is labour and skilled labour. With the view to upskilling some people and encouraging people into the rural lifestyle, we looked at the Ag Career Start program and we thought it was a perfect fit.
He's learning as he's taking every step. It's really worked out really well. I want to apply for this Gap Year program every year. Hopefully Julian after this year tells everyone how awesome it is. If you can get more and more young people into ag, it's what we need.
Lucy, when she leaves here, she's going to go on and study environmental science. Tipperary Group are one of the few stations in the Northern Territory which employs a rangelands and environment manager to look after the conservation side of what we do here. So that really fits together with what Lucy's skill set is going to be eventually. It's been a really good fit to be able to match Lucy into that conservation and environment program that we do on Tipperary.
I personally think that education is the biggest gift you can give. Definitely recommend the program to other farmers. You've got nothing to lose and you've got more to gain.
When you think of the future of your business, what is it that you hope for?
I'm just going to start the aerator.
Ways to grow? Ways to be more self-reliant? And always be one step ahead? Are you looking for a partner with solutions to complex business problems? Well, no matter your goal, with Nutrien Ag Solutions, we'll help you go further.
We farm about 5,000 acres here and we milk about 1,200 milking cows. We want young people involved in the industry, and the only way we're going to get the young people coming through is programs like this.
We had 2 applicants, both great applicants. Obviously we chose Julian. He was pretty green when he first started, didn't know much about driving some of the machinery, but he's a very knowledgeable person, very smart, and once he picked that up, it was just simple as.
Big thing that's missing in the rural sector is labour and skilled labour. With the view to upskilling some people and encouraging people into the rural lifestyle, we looked at the Ag Career Start program and we thought it was a perfect fit.
He's learning as he's taking every step. It's really worked out really well. I want to apply for this Gap Year program every year. Hopefully Julian after this year tells everyone how awesome it is. If you can get more and more young people into ag, it's what we need.
Lucy, when she leaves here, she's going to go on and study environmental science. Tipperary Group are one of the few stations in the Northern Territory which employs a rangelands and environment manager to look after the conservation side of what we do here. So that really fits together with what Lucy's skill set is going to be eventually. It's been a really good fit to be able to match Lucy into that conservation and environment program that we do on Tipperary.
I personally think that education is the biggest gift you can give. Definitely recommend the program to other farmers. You've got nothing to lose and you've got more to gain.
You spend a third of your life in bed. It's a really important part, and it's important that you sleep. So at Mini Jumbuck, that's why we've built a complete sleep system. We believe in building a sleeping comfort from the mattress up. So the fact that we have the highest quality wool and the highest quality production here in Narracoola has enabled us to create a range of quilts over 5 different warmth ratings to suit anybody's need, whether they're a hot or a cold sleeper. I'm Darren Turner and I'm the Managing Director of Mini Jumbuck. Mini Jumbuck started in the mid-70s handcrafting a small souvenir sheep. It's where the company got its name from. This led to the creation of Australia's first commercially wool-filled quilt, which we manufactured under licence for 3 or 4 years, and we eventually launched our own full range of wool bedding products, and we're seen as Australia's favourite wool bedding company today. I believe that Mini Jumbuck, being based in a small regional town in the heart of probably one of Australia's prime wool growing areas, plays a big part in the brand. Customers like authenticity, they like traceability. It's really important that we remain in this community, not only for the quality, which comes from a community feeling you get in your own company, which you can only really get if you live in a regional town. So we love being part of Naracoorte, and I think Naracoorte certainly loves having Mini Jump Buck being part of its town. I think it's important that all Australians realise that every time that they purchase an Australian-made product, they're supporting the entire country. And in that country, you get these small communities like here. And I just think if there's a choice between buying something that is made locally here in Australia versus something made overseas, why not make the choice and why not play a part in supporting our country? The more we can manufacture here, and the more we can make Australian-made products here, the stronger and better our country will be. Each of our products are handcrafted by our local employees here in Naracoorte. And when you see your product on the shelf in the back wall of a David Jones or a Myer or one of the other large customers in the city, you see the product that you've made. And we love the fact that we can put on an Australian-made logo that confirms all the hard work that we do here in Naracoorte can be recognised by consumers. At Mini Jump Buck, we feel it's really important to remain not only Australian-made, but to remain local. There's a real sense of pride when you can make Australia's #1 product, and that sense of pride goes to the handcraftsmanship and quality that goes into every product which is individually made and handcrafted.
Australia is recognised around the world for the quality of our wool. And while we love the feeling of wearing it, most of us have no real understanding of the technology and innovation that goes into producing this beautiful fibre. Well, today that's going to change. We're here to chat to one of Australia's leading producers of ethically grown luxury merino wool and hear their backstory. So let's go. Tell me, what makes you so passionate about innovation in this space?
We're first generation farmers. We're not inheriting the way that our father or grandfather did it. So this gave us the opportunity to start from first principles and think through what's the best way of doing this, and what's the best way that we can attract people to come and work with us as well, and what's the best way that we can then market our wool.
One of the steps that you have in innovation is your traceability. Would you tell us about that, and also why traceability is important?
I formed a view some years ago that it was important that quality control, which there was really none in the industry, was important. We developed a traceability system. So we do that with a wand that is Bluetooth connection back to a central data collector. Once electronic ear tags were available, the first bit of data was the data of that particular animal, and we wanted to capture that and take it right through the shearing process, into the wool classing process, and then through the various bins when we're shearing, that we could get the data on the whole grade of our sheep, from the very best to the ones that we didn't want to keep. And we've now got that system working, and we can give that assurance to anyone that buys our wool that we know and we can verify exactly what's in that bale of wool.
Noel, how does it make you feel that wool grown here in Australia is turning up on a catwalk in Milan?
We've been to Italy a number of times. We've seen beautiful product made with our wool, and it just sort of, it's mind-boggling.
Noel, thank you so much for having us here at Abington Merino today. We've had such a wonderful time learning about all the innovations that you're doing here, and good luck for the rest of the shearing season.
Thank you, and it's been wonderful having you guys here.
Learning about the lemon. Hello everyone, and welcome back to National Ag Day here in the South Bank in Melbourne. We are so happy to have you all here today, and to those of us joining us from Facebook on the live stream, thank you so much for your encouragement and support. We love to hear from you. 6 years and going strong. National Ag Day is an opportunity for us to celebrate our Aussie farmers and the incredible work they are doing to create food and fibre that is some of the best in the world. This year's theme is around innovation, and our next guest, Stuart Austin from Wilmot Cattle Co, is a testament to that. We can't wait to bring you this incredible story. So let's get started. Stuart's here with us. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Please tell us where you are streaming in from and about the operation that you're running.
Good morning, Rachel. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to join everyone this morning. We're based in northern New South Wales, so I live at just outside a little town called Ebor. We're sort of between Armidale and Coffs Harbour. And we also have farms at Walker, Inverell and Gunnedah.
Tell us about your farming history and how you became the General Manager of Wilmot Cattle Co. Tell us about that story.
Well, I can tell you the short version, I suppose. I was born in southern New South Wales and grew up in agriculture. My grandfather had a property, a beef cattle property in the Upper Murray, where I spent a lot of time when I was a kid and fell in love with the beef industry. I worked across Northern Australia on cattle stations up there for a number of years. I then lived and worked in Canada for 3 years, worked in agriculture over there. And in fact, we had a business going for a little while, taking Aussies over there to work on farms in Canada and bringing Canadians out here to work on farms in Australia, which was quite satisfying. I went and studied agribusiness at Marcus Oldham College in Victoria, in Geelong, when I was 28 as a mature age student. And that was one of the most valuable things I did in terms of getting some business skills and business understanding, I suppose. And that's probably been one of the most important things that's enabled me to do the job that I do today. So we came to Wilmot about 6 years ago, my wife Trish and I, and our little boy Harry at the time. We came to Wilmot 6 years ago as the manager of this farm, and over the last few years the company has grown, and so have we. So my role has evolved into a general manager about 3 years ago, and now I look after all 4 farms.
I noticed that one of the sentiments from Wilmot Cattle Co is raising cattle from the ground up. Would you speak to that? What does that mean to you, and tell us about that?
It's a bit of a play on words, I suppose, in that everything that we do here evolves from our soil. And so while we're beef cattle producers, they eat grass, and our soil produces that grass. So we focus an enormous amount on our soil health and our diversity in our pastures. So everything that we turn off in terms of beef and cattle, and that's our produce that we sell, evolves from our grass and our soil. And so that's our most important role, is to manage our natural resource and what we call natural capital, being our soil health and our pasture.
And what about the regenerative practices that you have on the farm? Will you speak to some of those too, please?
For sure. So I guess we talk about doing things a little bit differently here at Wilmot Cattle Company, and the term regenerative agriculture has evolved over the last few years. And it's essentially working back towards how Mother Nature used to manage this landscape for eons, where if we think about large herds of native animals, wild animals moving across the landscape, grazing an area of ground for a short period of time and then moving on, chasing fresh growth and then not coming back to an area until it's fully recovered. That's effectively what we're trying to do here. So we managed to a set of soil health principles that aims to always have 100% ground cover, as much diversity in our pastures as possible. So we never grow a single species. We always grow multiple species of pasture, and we're always looking for as many different species of plants, herbs, forbs, legumes, etc., through our pasture in every paddock. And so that's all trying to maintain the biological health of our soil. All those worms, bugs, insects, little dung beetles, all these little beneficial micro animals, I suppose, that are helping sustain that soil and pasture health. And then from a grazing perspective, we have a small number of large mobs of cattle. So on this farm, for example, today there's about 3,000 head. We have 2 mobs of over 1,000 head each, and they're grazing through fairly small paddocks, moving daily. So they're effectively mimicking how those wild animals used to graze, where they graze a small area for a short period of time and then they move on, and we don't come back and graze that paddock again until the plants are all fully recovered and ready to be grazed again.
And what is the benefit to that for those who are tuning in from home? You know, it sounds incredible and it sounds amazing, but what is, for you from a business perspective, what is the benefit of having regenerative practices on the farm?
It's a bit of a mouthful. What our vision is to restore the ecological function of the landscape that we manage. So what makes us a little bit different to other people and to other farmers is that we're more focused on restoring the ecological health of our farm and continuing to produce beef in a way that is pretty similar to how Mother Nature manages the landscape. So the benefit is a thriving ecosystem, I suppose. That, you know, when we go to move cattle on a horse, and you can hear so many different birds, you can hear all these little bugs and insects beavering away in the grass. Cattle that are grazing a whole bunch of different plant species. You know, we call it a salad bar, I suppose. And it's not dissimilar to people, where we want a really diverse diet all the time, and so do animals. So that's probably the biggest benefit.
A diverse salad bar, that sounds really, really delicious. Even I'm interested in that too, Stuart. We actually have a question from one of our audience members today. Hello there, what was your name?
Hi, Danielle Kuchinota. Nice to see you. I have a question around foot and mouth disease, and does that scare you on your farm, and how do you better prepare yourself to protect the cattle?
Thanks, Danielle. That's a great question. And yes, foot and mouth disease in Indonesia was a real concern for us. There's an enormous amount of people traffic that comes back and forth from Bali, particularly. It's one of our major, biggest tourism destinations in and out of Australia. So we did quite a bit of work in that space. I did a lot of advocacy and lobbying, I suppose, with politicians, and some of the things that have put our mind at ease are the biosecurity measures and protocols in our airports that are really tight, and as strict as anywhere in the world, I suppose. And the second thing, the biggest risk pathway for FMD to get into Australia was in raw meat products. And fortunately, Minister Watt had the foresight to put a ban or put a stop on all meat imports of less than 10 kilos. So people who were trying to bring in a packet of pork chops in their luggage coming back from Bali, that was what posed the biggest risk. So yes, it was certainly a big concern probably 3 months ago. The risk has somewhat subsided as they have undertaken a massive vaccination program in Indonesia, as well as the border control measures that we've implemented here in Australia. So probably a bit more comfortable now, though the risk is not entirely gone.
Thank you so much. Stuart, it sounds like, the welfare of your animals is of the utmost importance to you. So what makes a happy cow?
That's a good question, Rachel. To us, it's the things I've alluded to there already around a diverse pasture. And the analogy I use is that as people, we don't just eat steak all day, as much as that, I could probably survive on a diet of that. We do have, we have bacon and eggs for breakfast. We have something nice for morning tea. We have something different for lunch and something different for dinner. And so we're trying to offer that to animals as a really diverse diet, such that whatever they're looking for, they can get it from a grass or a herb or a forb or a legume, whether they're looking for more protein or more energy or whatever it might be. The second thing is obviously their water. So we have beautiful natural water across all our farms, and we also pretty well across all our farms now we're providing reticulated water through a trough, and that is the cleanest water supply that we can provide to animals. And that's all underpinned by remote water monitoring, so a system called FarmBot telemetry. So all our tanks have monitors on them, and we get an alert as soon as there's a tank below a certain level. We get an alert to say that tank is low, and they never should be, because our pump is on a system that every tank should always be full all the time. So it means that our cattle never run out of water, so they've always got a beautiful diverse pasture to be eating, a plentiful water supply. And the other thing, I suppose, is shelter and biodiversity. So we've undertaken considerable tree planting projects across all our farms. We've planted tens of thousands of trees now across our farms. So those animals always got shelter in bad weather. They've got shade in beautiful weather like today. So they live a pretty happy life.
One of the concerns from the public, I guess, is around methane production. And at Wilmot Cattle Co, you have a great commitment to carbon sequestration. Will you speak to what you're doing on the property and your commitment for the future?
Definitely, Rachel. That's been a big focus of ours. We started learning about soil carbon probably about 10 years ago. And the 2-minute lesson on soil carbon is that there's two paths into our soil. One is through the process of death, decay and decomposition. So as litter, as plants decompose on the surface, that becomes organic matter and turns into soil carbon just under the surface. The other more effective way and more rapid way of taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and storing it as carbon in our soils is through the process of photosynthesis. So everyone does this on their lawn every time they mow the lawn. It's effectively an animal grazing their lawn. As that plant regrows, it's absorbing CO2 out of the atmosphere through the process of photosynthesis, and it's punching sugars into the soil through its root system. They're exuded through the root system. And we do exactly the same thing on farm here, where as our cattle graze our plants, and then they regrow through that regrowing process is when that photosynthesis process is undergoing. So what we've learned is that we're storing considerably more carbon or CO2 in our soils as soil carbon, and for every tonne of soil carbon we store in our soils through our plants, that equates to 3.67 tonnes of CO2 than we are emitting from our animals, to the tune of probably our methane emissions account for about 20% of the total amount of CO2 that we're storing in our soil as soil carbon. So we're actually considerably carbon negative, or what we like to call climate positive, where it's the contribution that we're making to climate change, I suppose, is taking enormous amounts of greenhouse gas out of the atmosphere and storing our soil as carbon, and we're storing it a long way underground, so it's far down as a metre and possibly beyond that. And if we can get it, when we get it down there, it stays there forever. Yeah, it's a really positive story, and one we're quite proud of, and one we're keen to share. And we're quite sure that more and more of the beef industry is actually in the same position. We just happen to have enough data to be able to demonstrate within this business that that's where we're at.
Thank you for speaking to that, Stuart. I appreciate that. Your family live on the property with you. Already you've spoken to the innovation that you have on the property to future-proof the property, from the way you're managing your water resources to collecting the data in regards to the carbon sequestration. With your family and the future in mind, could you speak to what you hope the future has for the property and for the future of Aussie farming as well?
For sure. So we live a real life of gratitude, I suppose, is how we talk. We're so grateful to be able to have the role that we do, to manage the landscapes that we manage, to be having the effect on the environment that we're having. And it's an absolute blessing to be able to bring our children up here. We have 3 little kids now. Harry is 7, Poppy's 3, and Annabelle's 1. And we spend so much time outside. We spend plenty of time on the farm. They're quite young, but Harry is 100 mile an hour. He's got his own little motorbike, little horse. He's got a couple of potty cars. We've got some chooks, a couple of dogs. It's such a wonderful place to bring our kids up. And I hope that they can have such a positive upbringing within agriculture in a business that is creating resilience to climate extremes. So, we've been through droughts and fires and floods and all those things. But hopefully they're seeing how we're managing those and managing through them and recovering from them in a fairly resilient, positive way. We try not to let some of those things hold us back too much and learn as much from them as we can. It would be wonderful to think that our kids would be involved in agriculture as they grow up and when they're older. And hopefully we're providing an environment that encourages that.
Thank you, Stuart. We actually have one more question from a member of our public.
Sure.
Hello there. What was your name and what's your question?
My name is Agle, and I just came to Melbourne today. I work for home insurance, just came for a Christmas party, but I feel so sorry for all the farmers. And what's going to happen if all your cows drowned from all these floods? Are we going to be forced to be vegetarian? Like, I love my steak. I don't want to eat worms that the government is promoting for us to eat worms. I want to eat cows. What's going to happen? How can we help to save these cows?
It's a terrific question, and I can
floods.
certainly appreciate the sensitivity there. What I can assure you is that our farmers are very well prepared for this. If there's anyone who watches weather forecasts and weather reports in a very detailed manner, it's every farm in the country. So I can assure you that our guys, all our fellow farmers have been very well prepared. They knew these weather events were coming and they knew this flooding was imminent. So I'd like to think that our animal losses from the floods will be quite minimal. People will have got them to higher ground, got them out of harm's way. It'll be more so the damage to our infrastructure, fences, houses, buildings, sheds, fodder storage, etc., crops across the country. That'll be the biggest impact. As I say, hopefully I can reassure you that our farmers in Australia really have, they watch the weather very carefully and do everything they can to make sure that that they're well prepared for when these events happen, because we've been going through them for generations and they're only getting worse. And so we're learning each time how to best prepare. But the beef won't stop coming, I can assure you. And it's wonderful to hear that someone's so passionate about eating cows, because we love our steak and we love our beef as well.
Thank you so much.
Lots of sunshine.
Thank you very much.
Stuart, just quickly before we have to let you go, the relationship between farming, conservation and our environmental future proofing is so important. Just hearing then how climate so integrally affects our farming practices. You studied agriculture and you said that it was a wonderful experience. Today, National Ag Day, we have people listening at home who might be considering a future in farming. I would love to hear from you to speak to that, and what would you say to them?
Yeah, education has been a critical part, Rachel. I studied agribusiness, so I was more focused on understanding the business fundamentals, which are probably, people in other industries, those who are successful and run businesses, that's what they understand the best is the business aspect and what drives profit. And definitely in education, my biggest piece of advice to every young person is to be very curious and very open-minded and question everything, which our younger people of today are getting really good at. I'm constantly putting pressure on our universities and institutions to broaden their view, I suppose, and open the curriculum up a bit wider to new ideas and in fact, going back to some old ways that actually were quite sustainable for hundreds of years. So that's probably my biggest advice is, yes, education is critical. Business skills are the most important for people in agriculture. We learn so much of what we do in agriculture on the job, in the paddock, on the farm, but we don't learn enough about business. And so if there was one piece of advice I could give to a school leaver who was interested in agriculture is do a business degree and to really understand how the farm that they might work on actually makes money and is financially profitable.
Thank you so much, Stuart. We wish you the best. And we are just so grateful that you're sharing all this wisdom with us today. Happy National Ag Day to you and to your family, and hopefully we'll be seeing you around soon.
Thanks very much, Rachel. Thanks for having me, and all the best. I hope everyone has a wonderful day down there too.
It's just been so interesting.
I've been able to learn a lot about the information technology services behind ag, which is a huge industry to everything we do in cotton. I'm very keen just to roll up my sleeves and do a bit of manual work while it's still relevant to my uni degree as well.
I've always wanted to have a job in farming and agriculture. I'm keen to get into it and learn, see what happens on the job, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning how to work around cattle and where to stand and where not to stand.
I essentially came in to Gav's property with not a lot of skills, and since then I've learned something new every single day.
So many people and so many different friendships that you can make. It's like an own little family here.
It's been a great experience, not only to learn about ag, but also a lot of life skills as well.
So I'm someone who has a disability. Farm's been really good at, in making sure that they're teaching me things in a way that I understand and making sure I get the support I need to get to the same point as somebody else.
I'm hoping that my time here will kind of give me a bit of first-hand insight into living on the land, and I can use this knowledge that I learn here and apply it when I'm doing uni.
Leaving a life behind at uni and away from where I grew up, first couple of weeks was a little bit hard, but it's been great. You don't look back. Ultimately, I find everything very, very rewarding and fun.
It's an awesome workplace. It's been the best decision I've made, and I don't think I could say any higher praise of the fact that I'm now actually able to work on a farm, experience it, and be doing what I'm doing. It's a dream job.
It's definitely nerve-wracking, but it's so worth it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Australian agriculture is a backbone to our country economy, which means we have to be very careful with our soils. Our soils are delicate. We're in a drier landscape. You have a limited window of opportunities for getting crops in the ground, which makes it more imperative to have reliable equipment designed to ensure maximum seed germination and crop vigour. Australian farmers heavily rely on Australian-made technology because most Australian manufacturers were farmers. The strength of, farmers providing equipment for farmers, you're providing services that are trusted and proven. Our knowledge of the soil types becomes integral to be sure that we're providing a portfolio of tillage and seeding equipment that applies to the soil we're selling it into.
C&H Industrial manage both the Hord Bagshaw brand and K-Line brand in Australia. Over time, agronomists have provided a wealth of knowledge around best practice farming, and through the two brands we've been able to have a leading edge tillage product through the K-Line brand, and on the seeding side we have the Hord Bagshaw product, which is again arguably one of the oldest farm implement companies for Australia.
We focus on building the most reliable, durable machines that we can that are built and designed in Australian conditions for Australian conditions. So these are things that people use to go out and feed and clothe the world. And so reliability and durability are the most important things that we can do, and we try and do it every day.
Farmers, this is their livelihood. They need equipment that can go through harsh Australian conditions, and they know they can rely on K-Line and Hord Bagshaw products to get them through the seeding season and give them the outcomes that they desire.
So here at Hord Bagshaw, we make 4 of probably the most iconic products in Australia. The Scary Bar, our air seeders, the PSS, and our Greater Scraper line. One of the things that makes Hord Bagshaw so unique is they're one of the oldest manufacturing companies of agricultural machines in Australia, going back to 1838. Having that history, having that experience that comes from having that sort of time in the business gives you a great level of understanding. The other thing, being a part of C&H Industrial now, we now have that big business global scope with local experience. It's the best of both worlds, really.
With the cost of fuel and the acreages that we farm in Australia, the goal is to provide the most efficient operation we can, which the speed tiller has actually really filled that niche for. I feel having a local manufacturing facility right in amongst the farms, our whole team here is very much customer focused. We spend a lot of time in the field with the farmers in both developing equipment and maintaining equipment for the farmer. This empowers our engineering team to develop products suitable for the marketplace, because agriculture it runs to the roots of our foundation here as a team.
I think agriculture is truly a part of the identity of what it is to be Australian. It's a huge focus for CNH Industrial to have people that have come from the land and understand that, because you don't have to look very far to find people that either farm themselves or have come from a family farming background. And we know our customers, we work side by side with them, and we are customers ourselves. You know, we have people here that buy our machines. And I think if you design and build something from the ground up for these conditions, it's the greatest testament that you can is when people actually believe it.
There's a real pride of having a locally produced Australian product. When people turn up to whether it be Horde Bagshaw or K-Line, they're proud of what they're contributing to building Australian-made products and continuing Australian-made manufacturing.
The value in putting that Australian-made logo on the machines that we build here today it's a recognition of the heritage and the commitment to being a part of Australia and being a manufacturer in Australia and doing things that are hard, but doing them because they're right.
Being a local manufacturer, it's integral to our success. Not only is the product built to withstand the demanding conditions, but it's a locally supported product, which the Australian farmers really appreciate.
At Nutrien Ag Solutions, we're here to help you go further. Further in innovation and technology. Further in advice and solutions. Go further for the community. In sustainability. And for the future of our industry. With Nutrien Ag Solutions, there's no limit to how far your business can go.
Well, I've just arrived at Tipperary Station in the Northern Territory. I flew up from Adelaide with my dad, and I've just seen around the place, and yeah, super excited to get started. I'm hoping that my time here will kind of give me a bit of first-hand insight into living on the land, and I can use this knowledge that I learn here and apply it when I'm doing uni. Learning about the lemons and the cotton has just been so interesting. The food is amazing. So many people and so many different friendships that you can make. It's like an own little family here. Got a bit nervous when I clicked the application button. It's definitely nerve-wracking, but it's so worth it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Go for it, 100%.
Most of us salivate at the prospect of enjoying beautiful homegrown Aussie beef. But how often do we think about where it comes from or how it's been produced? You might be surprised to hear that Australian beef farmers are some of the most innovative and efficient in the world. And today we are lucky enough to meet one of them to hear their backstory. So let's go. Mel, thank you so much for having us here at the beautiful Barfield Station. Tell us about the operation that you're running here.
Yep, so Barfield's situated in central Queensland. It's a family operation. We're a certified organic and EU and natural pasture-fed grassland. But we like to finish the cattle on our beautiful Lakina. We're very passionate about the whole concept of organic. So it's a natural, pasture-fed, no chemicals, no hormones, never in their life had antibiotics, and they're not ever contained for feeding, so they're always able to roam naturally.
Will you speak to some of the tech that we could find here on the farm today?
Sure, look, technology is really important to us. It allows us to do things in a remote way. So this is one of our solar pumping systems. This one's pumping out of a dam up into some holding tanks, and then from the holding tanks it gets reticulated out to all sorts of different paddocks and into troughs. Solar's probably one of the most efficient and clean ways for us to pump our water. You know, we don't require fossil fuels or electricity, so we're cutting back on our costs. This remote sensing also allows us, if we're off property, if we happen to be at one of our other properties working, we can still keep an eye on what's happening here.
Mel, we're here at the Lakina crops. Tell us about what role they play in your operations here.
Yeah, sure. So Lakina is probably one of the most sustainable legumes available to us. The beauty of Lakina is when our cattle are grazing in here, their methane emissions are reduced from between 20 and 40%. Wow. The woody growth of the Lakina sequesters carbon. it retains moisture in the soil, which is really good, and so that helps with erosion issues and things like that.
Mel, tell us about the tech that we can see behind us.
Yeah, so this bit of technology here is our automated weather station. So this sends the information direct to my desktop computer. It'll alert me if, I need to water the trees, if the soil moisture's dropped enough that, yep, it's time to water. For me, I love the fact that I've got some verifiable data that I can show people. So I'm not just telling them a story. Got to look forward to the future. How are we going to be here for the long term? And to be sustainable long term, we know we've got to look after our environment, we've got to look after our animals, and we've got to look after our people and our business. So hopefully the actions that we're taking, it will be our contribution.
Mel, thank you so much for having us out here at Barfield Station today. It's been great to learn about all the tech and innovation that goes into running your property, and how about that beautiful lunch and this incredible sunset as well.
Well, thanks for coming. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Welcome back to National Agriculture Day. We are coming to you live from Martin Place in Sydney, and you've just heard from our other moderator in Melbourne, the lovely Rachel McCann. If you are lucky enough to be with us here in Sydney today, we actually have some fantastic things to get involved with, namely VR. So you can be here in Martin Place in Sydney, but visiting a farm through the wonders of technology. We've got not only virtual reality, but augmented reality as well, they're telling me. So we've got some fantastic content you can see. You can sit in a header while it's harvesting a crop. You can get involved in milking cows, all via the wonders of technology and innovation, which is what, of course, National Ag Day this year is all about. I am absolutely excited to interview our next guest today. As someone who works with young people in agriculture day to day, I'm always thrilled to chat to first-generation farmers. And first-generation farmers are those who haven't inherited a farm. They have gone out and found themselves a way to either acquire land or start their own farm. So I'm joined today by Adam and Jacinta Coffey. Adam and Jacinta, are you there?
Morning. How you going?
Morning. How you going? Really well. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you start by telling the viewers and people here in Sydney and in Melbourne, where are you calling us from today?
Sure, well, you can go.
Yeah, so we are situated near Miriamvale, which is on the central Queensland coast. So we're sort of halfway between Rockhampton and Bundaberg.
What a beautiful part of the world. Could you tell us about just what your farm is, what it involves, what are you growing?
Yeah, so we've got it's 2,500 hectares up here, grass-fed beef cattle enterprise. Yeah, what else can I tell you? We've got plenty going on, but I'm guessing you've got a few more questions for us.
I've got many questions for you. Talk to us about capacity on the farm. How many head of cattle are you running?
Gotcha, yeah. Look, we're running sort of around that sort of 500 breeding cows, and we run them in one mob. So a critical part of our operation is we're running a time-controlled rotational grazing enterprise. So we're trying to get maximum impact on our pasture and then maximise our periods of rest to allow that to recover.
I'm really excited to ask you a bit more about that in a moment. But first I want to know, you are first generation farmers, and I know dealing with young people myself, it can be quite a barrier getting into farming as a first generation if you don't have a farm to inherit. How did you guys go about becoming farmers?
Do you want the short story, the short version? Look, it was a long path, and I was headed off doing a chef's apprenticeship, and Jack did a commerce degree, so she was in accounting. Originally from Tasmania, but we've always had a fascination with the land, and we travelled all around Australia working and managing on other people's properties essentially, and particularly in that corporate agricultural management, and look through I guess hard work and trying to situate ourselves where we could take advantage of opportunity. We've found our way into our own block, and that included lease scenarios, adjusting a lot of cattle over the years, buying and selling and trading cattle on other people's land before we had our own. So look, it's been a hard road, but there's still plenty of opportunity out there if you're sort of prepared to grab it.
Yeah, and I can imagine that it involves quite a lot of learning, training courses, listening to other people. Just what did you do to gain the knowledge and the skills to eventually gain the confidence to start your own enterprise?
Well, I think we've been working across, we've worked almost in every state and territory across the country. So a lot of it's a lot of hands-on. Adam went to Marcus Oldham University, so he went and did his agribusiness, work over there. So that's given him a really good grounding. And then the rest of it is you really learn as you go. And the biggest thing in this industry is that people are so willing to help you out. So you've really just got to ask and be willing to put in the work to see it from their perspective, and then, really gain as much knowledge as you can from everybody on the way.
Yeah, Jack touched on, working in different environments. You can't beat, now even where we are, we pull in all that experience, I guess, from when we're in the Kimberley or the NT or Southwest WA or New South Wales, and it's you can't sort of beat that broad knowledge to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your business.
As two people who are, first generation farmers, sort of new-ish to agriculture, how did you know that farming was for you?
Good question.
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's vital that it's seen as an option across schools, because coming from, like, I grew up in Tassie, and agriculture wasn't really put forward as a career option for somebody who was driven and that sort of thing, So I went and did accounting because that was sort of seen to be a legitimate career, I guess. And yet agriculture has so many facets to it, in terms of technology. You've got pasture and biology and animal nutrition, and there are just so many areas that you could go into. So it was funny growing up. I knew there was something I wanted to do that would involve animals and using my brain and mathematics and tech and all that sort of thing, but I didn't know what it was. It turns out ag just really ticks all the boxes.
And also we sort of reckon that if most people knew how we live our lives, and don't get me wrong, there's some hard work, but we step out the door in the morning and we're at work, and it's a beautiful place to work, and it's a good way of life. So look, everyone's different, but I think if more people understood what we do on a daily basis, I think they'd be all over it.
And on that note, what does a day in the life look like? What are you up to day to day on the farm?
Well, I guess we're, as I say, we run a time-controlled grazing enterprise, so we've got one big mob of cattle, and we spend a lot of time ensuring they have all the, the water and the feed and nutrition in front of them that they need. We as I say, we spend a lot of time getting around doing that. What else?
Well, we do a lot of measuring. So there's obviously we measure basic things like rainfall and things like that, but we also run grazing charts. So we make sure that we know how much feed is ahead of the cattle for the next few months, or up to 12 months. We have a look at the feed that's left behind when they leave the paddock. So all of that's monitored and measured, and we track it till we make sure that we might have 500 breeder cows on. However, if we know that we're running low on rainfall, or we look forward to what's happening in the next few months, then we can we're always planning and adapting to the situation. So we'll know whether we need to destock, whether we can have opportunity to bring more cattle on if we've got extra grass, that sort of thing. So it's extremely varied, and it's a rolling plan daily.
Yeah, and I guess as much as we've got our hands on sort of activities, fencing, as I say, animal husbandry, etc. Our business is really evolving into it. There's so much data capture now, and that obviously, number one, it allows us to measure the performance of our business in real time, but then also track the performance of our business and the health and the yields of our environment over time to ensure that we are sort of tracking in the right direction.
Adam, you talked about time-controlled rotational grazing. I'm sure that might sound like jargon to a lot of people who might be listening to this. Could you go in a bit more detail about what that is, what it involves, and why farmers would select to use that system?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's pretty simple. As I touched on earlier, it's about running a lot of cattle in one mob. And there are a lot of operators out there doing that sort of practice now. And really, it's just trying to mimic, if you go back to the big migratory herds sort of in North America, and people have started to recognise that there's a lot of benefit in the way that they used to move around. So they'd run in a tight herd due to sort of predatory pressures. They hit the ground, they hit their pasture hard. But also, and probably the most important part, is putting the nutrients, so the urine and the dung, back onto the land in a concentrated fashion. And then they're gone. And they might not come back there for 6 or 12 months. Or in our case, we basically match those rotations to the stage of pasture growth. So we're a summer active growing season. We get most of our rainfall across summer up here, and we're a tropical pasture environment. So that's when we get all that growth. So when the grass is growing fast, we have fast rotations. And when it slows up, we basically can allow those cattle to stay where they are for longer, and then we have longer periods of rest. And all we're trying to do is get, by doing that, we're improving our pasture health. So we're increasing nutrient return, we're increasing the moisture is a big one. So any drop of rainfall that we get, we want it to be in our soil profile. And that's all about building resilience in an environment where, sometimes rainfall can be sporadic. So we need to ensure that we're capturing every drop we get, in a bid to basically increase our soil biology, improve our soil biology over time. And that it all goes hand in hand with production, improving our environment. It's a pretty cool place to be.
And it sounds like it's a pretty intensive system. Like, how often are you moving the mob?
Oh, it depends again on the size of the mob and the size of the paddock, the time of the year, and like Adam said, how, at what rate the pasture's growing. So it is there's the science behind it, but then there's also a lot of feeling. You basically go out in the paddock and you really need to have a good grasp on what's going on, and how your cattle are doing and what the weather's doing, all that sort of thing. So generally speaking, it's probably weekly that we would shift the cattle. And it's very, very simple now. They know their job. So you basically head out there, and when they know it's time to move, they all just mosey through the gate and onto the next paddock. It's quite low stress, and it's just a bit of fun, really. It's all very, very simple.
It sounds really interesting. I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with farming would be quite surprised to know that animals really do learn how to work within the system and actually quite enjoy it from a welfare point of view.
Yeah, they certainly do, and they get a little bit cheeky sometimes. You've got to make sure that you have your animal management, down pat, really, because you can get the ones who go, oh, hang on a second, I want to go to my next paddock, and they're already looking for the grass is always greener, So there's a bit of that in terms of animal management and ensuring that they're not trying to move too quickly.
I want to ask you about, your first generation farmers. You're coming in learning a lot, but you've also got some external experiences. Your childhoods, your upbringings were quite different to people maybe who've been raised in generational farming. Do you think that has helped or hindered you in becoming farmers yourselves?
Oh, I think a little bit of both. Obviously, there's the equity challenge, capital challenges, and trying to pull this stuff on as a first generation farmer. It's, we borrow a lot of money, but also I guess you don't come in with any prior context. So I think there is strength in that. We can sort of, again, I mentioned earlier how we sort of moved around this great country of ours, and you gain a lot of varied experience. So when we tackle a problem, we're not sort of looking at what has been done before, although at the same time there's a lot of value in that. So it's a mix of both, isn't it? Right? You come with fresh ideas, and then you've really got to respect what has been before you and understand why things have been done, and then sort of tackle it in the best way you see fit.
And what does innovation look like or mean to you guys?
I guess
it's fun.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a lot of fun. I think one of the positives in that sort of first gen, thing is to have, we can try new things, and it's just on us. So we're not, we don't have the family farm to think of and the multi-generational, any of that kind of pressure that might have been there. However, having said that, we know a lot of multi-generational farmers who are the most innovative out there. So those families are the ones that we really look to and inspire us. So we're always trialing new things, and some things work and some things don't. So We've got our water tank monitors for the water level. We've got solar pumps on all our bores. That's probably on the water side of it. On the fencing side of it, we run single hot wire electric fencing for a lot of, it's an easy and cheaper way to divide up our paddocks when we're doing rotations. So we have a remote monitored fencing unit for that. So it's mobile phone based, and we can turn that fence on and off when we're going out there to